Back on In Focus tonight, Cooperative Governance Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa has, in a parliamentary response, revealed that it's over 66 municipalities, that's 26% of the 257, are defined as being in distress. This has led to residents facing poor service delivery. Hlabisa joins us now to discuss what interventions have been put in place. Minister, good to have you. Thank you very much for coming on this evening. Now, Bophela, when you look at the 41 that you reported in October, that they are under administration or under Section 139, right? Barring Tabazimbi and I think Matlosana, which you would have put under administration, at least in this 7th administration, all the others have been under a Section 139, others even going back to 2017. So one would say for well over 5 years, those municipalities are not showing any sign of improvement. What is behind that kind of lack of shift in terms of performance, even when a Section 139 process is being administered?
Good evening, my brother, as well as the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Indeed, there are municipalities which have been under Section 139 for too long a time. Some of them is more than 10 years. If you talk of Kanyagute, talk of Zinyati, and many others. When we assumed the responsibilities of leading the department, what we did was an audit of municipalities under Section 139. We are assessing these municipalities as to why they have stayed too long. But one other factor that might be a contributor, it is not good to jump Section 154 to 139. You first have to start with 154 other than jumping to 139. And if you have gone to Section 139, it is critical. Who do you deploy as an administrator? The capacity and competency. And when he or she gives you the recommendations, are you bold enough to implement them in order to turn things around? So now, since we assumed we are looking at all the reports in these municipalities by the end of this year, which is December, a month away from now, we will make a pronouncement in terms of what is our evaluation, and we have requested MECs at provincial level to give us feedback in terms of why these municipalities are taking too long not to have a turnaround, yes, and what will be done and what support they need from us to do a support that will turn things around. We are positive because, as you rightly quoted the number 66, that number of dysfunctional municipalities has gone down in terms of the latest report from 66 to 35 municipalities. Yeah. That on its own does indicate that there is a shift, yes, in terms of distressed municipalities from the previous number to the latest number, which is now 35 instead of 66.
Right. Now, according to SALGA, there are 4 roots or root causes, if you like, that are causing this kind of decline. One of them being poor political leadership capacity. Right? We'll talk about the weak administrative management, but let's talk about the poor political leadership capacity. Others may look at that and say, Minister, you are still going to fail to deal with that because even now, more so in the government of national unity, you might be looked at as overstepping your bounds as minister, interfering, for example, in political arrangements that are existing within particular parties and coalitions.
No, you see, there is one thing interesting now. All political parties do not want to be associated with failure. Take the case of Tabazimbi. The municipality has been dissolved. There is going to be a rerun on the 4th of December because a municipality was a complete failure. And a political party that was leading the municipality did not want to associate itself for too long with failure because they knew come 2026, people will punish a political party that subjected them into a municipality that was not functioning. We are doing a comprehensive assessment, and I received a support from the cabinet that the 35 municipalities where we identified 10 worst performing municipalities, the cabinet unanimously said, we will accompany you, Minister, when you do site visit in these municipalities, because we are all committed in making municipalities work. Yeah. Because to have the economy growing, to have development getting off the ground, all it happens at a local government sphere. All political parties, therefore, who govern at a local government level do want to see a change, don't want to be associated with a failure, because people will punish those political parties that have been running a failed municipality.
Yeah. You highlighted the 10, I think it was, if not September, maybe it would have been earlier than that. But certainly in that last conversation, you would have highlighted to me that you're focusing on these 10. How much time are you giving yourself to begin to see a turnaround in those 10 out of the 35?
Let me begin by saying there are 3 phases. 4 months, short-term goals from September to December 2024. What we are doing in the short term, 1, is to diagnose the problem. Firstly, who is the municipal manager in each of these 10 municipalities? What is his or her qualifications? The CFO, Director Technical Service, and Director Corporate Services. Because whatever turnaround plan you can come with, if you have people with no competence relevant in the position they occupy, you will miss it. In these first 4 months, we will be getting the competency of the mayors and speakers, because both politically and administratively, people who lead the council must be competent, must understand what they are dealing with, the turnaround plan that we will be selling to them and supporting them and persuading them to turn things around. They must have capacity to understand. Then after the first 4 months, when we've diagnosed, so that we come with a relevant solution, 6 months, medium-term goals from January to June next year, we will be providing support, monitoring the support we are giving, and ensuring that there is cooperation, putting timelines within the 6 months, that on month 1, month 2, what change do we want to see by end of June next year?
Right.
The 10 worst performing municipalities must have made a great shift, moving from being dysfunctional to be functional. It cannot be support indefinitely. When support is given, there must be results as a result of the support that is given. And thereafter, a long-term goal, 12 months, from July 2025 to June 2026, we will be consolidating the support we are giving and putting more clear terms of reference in terms of performance areas these municipalities must demonstrate by June 2026. All municipalities should have moved from being dysfunctional to be functional.
Yeah.
In terms of audit outcome, The municipalities that got disclaimers and adverse outcomes must have moved away from that bad category, at least to qualifications. We will be mobilizing Treasury to give financial support, because some of these municipalities, what makes them dysfunctional, they do not have a revenue base to collect in order to run their activities. But when financial support has been given, there must be accountability of the money that has been given, and projects that are being undertaken must be finished on time, and there must be value for money on a project that was done. When we look at the project and the amount, there must be a relationship between the two.
Yes, yes, yes. Again, I mean, if you look at your numbers, 66, the highest number of municipalities in distress is in KwaZulu-Natal. And that particular province is worrisome because we are already beginning to hear, for example, even the government of provincial unity is having some tensions, right? The ANC on Monday, I think last week, would have said that, yes, even though the government of national unity in the province is still intact, but, for example, and we are in a fortunate position because you've also got the other head as the leader of the IFP, that there are some tensions there. There are some tensions that are beginning to threaten that government, also coming from the internal battles within the NFP. From your side at national level, how do you view those kind of tensions and how they might weaken the efforts that you're trying to bring into a province like KwaZulu-Natal and those particular municipalities?
Tensions will always exist because, let us remember, the government of provincial unity in KwaZulu-Natal is formed by 4 political parties with different ideologies. But these 4 political parties made a commitment that they want to serve the people of South Africa, and they are going to live to that commitment. Differences of interpretation, approach will always crop up. At a national level, we are overseeing and monitoring the developments in KwaZulu-Natal. I know there was a meeting today between the 2 role players in the government of provincial unity to try to iron out other issues, and I'm confident they will find each other and have a smooth sailing in the remaining period, because a commitment was made to serve the people of KwaZulu-Natal as equally. There could be some few issues even at a national level, but we rise above beyond those petty issues, because the bigger goal is serve the people of South Africa.
Yes.
Let us talk about 35 municipalities. 66 is an old number.
Yeah.
The latest number is 35. The biggest number of municipalities that are not functional or distressed are not in KwaZulu-Natal. 1 are in Free State, followed by Eastern Cape, and followed by Northern Cape, not KwaZulu-Natal.
Talk to me then about those areas, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and the Free State, right? One of the issues that would have arisen, at least speaking to the leadership in the Free State, I have spoken to the leadership in the Eastern Cape, have not yet spoken to the leadership in the Northern Cape, but would have appealed to them to come and join us. It's the question of enhancing institutional capacity, right? The challenge of filling vacant posts at senior management. How are you going to support them? Because it's a challenge for them, big challenge. They're not getting particularly high numbers of CVs of people applying for those particular positions. So they're having recruitment challenges.
That is why I said the first thing that we are doing in the 35 municipalities, we are auditing who is occupying senior positions in these municipalities. We are concentrating CFO, Director Technical Services, and Corporate Services. These are key portfolios administratively. Where they are failing to attract suitably qualified people, we are going to assist. We have a pool under COCTAM for CFO, engineers, and municipal managers whom we can deploy in these municipalities. But where we will find they employed a technical director who does not have the appropriate qualification, as we do know right now, in some of water services authority, not necessarily in the 35 municipalities, there are municipalities that have director technical with no technical qualification. One, we will want to ask those municipalities redeploy this person so that you employ or we support you with an engineer, because you cannot be able to provide water services if you employed a person with no relevant skills. The first thing, therefore, that we will do, we are diagnosing the challenge. They are giving us the information. Where they need support, we will give them support. And where a person is refusing to be redeployed, we will look at the advert, how the person was employed, what was the requirement in the advert. If the advert was deliberately ignored, there will have to be a consequence management in relation to that effect, but in a good spirit. Firstly, redeploy a person who was deployed wrongly and get a suitably qualified person in order to see tangible results.
Yeah. So in the first 4 months, I can safely say you will be doing a skills audit in the short term. In the long term, there are, of course, questions around infrastructure, because as we are doing the audit, of course, there's a deterioration of infrastructure that is historic, if you like, but that is beginning almost to affect those municipalities now. There is debt that is affecting those municipalities now. While you do the skills audit, these are some of the other things that need to be immediately attended to as well.
Yes, indeed. Like, for instance, if you look at Free State, look at Eastern Cape, and look at Northern Cape, these provinces have a historical background, predominantly previously disadvantaged. That is one factor which you must take into account when you look at the dysfunctionality of these municipalities. That is why you must have a comprehensive view that, taking into account their historical background, the levels of poverty, the difficulty of attracting suitably qualified people, you must assist these municipalities. And we are going to revisit the funding model so that these municipalities, like, for instance, if you go to Free State, go to Northern Cape, they are municipalities with basically no revenue from which to collect in order to run their activities. You need to revisit the funding model that the previously disadvantaged municipalities, the municipalities with no sufficient revenue base, they must be given more financial resources so that they can become functional. But secondly, some of our municipalities are owed billions of rands by government departments. In the month of September, I wrote to all government departments that it is time to pay the municipalities. I gave them up to end of December that they must pay the money they owe municipalities. And if they don't pay, I'm going to approach the National Treasury, that the National Treasury must deduct it from the allocation of these departments so that the money is diverted to municipalities. You can't expect them to perform, yet you do not pay them for the resources, for the services they provide to government. And secondly, we will go to business people. The business owe billions of money to municipalities. Before we say disconnect the services you render, we will say, business people, let us cooperate. Let us make our municipalities functional. let us pay them for the services they render to us. It will only be a last resort to disconnect, but in terms of taking our communities, our municipalities, and our country forward, in order to make our municipalities able to render services, people who are being serviced must pay for those services. And on the other hand, the municipalities, once they are being paid, they will have to pay ESCOM, they will have to pay water boards, and then we will embark on a massive campaign for ordinary citizens, that those people who are not indigent people, people like myself and yourself and everyone who is working, let us pay for the water that we get from the municipality. Let us pay the rates that are due to the municipality so that the municipality can be able to provide constant water provision and ensure that potholes are attended in our roads and cleanliness is kept at a high standard in our municipalities.
Okay.
It is us that must make municipalities functional by paying for what they service us with, and then hold them accountable that, look, we are paying all what is due to you, give maximum service.
Minister, we appreciate your time. Let's leave it there for tonight. That's the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs on the interventions at municipal level. The Minister pointing out that it's no longer 66 now, it's 35, which means there is 50% of those that have improved. Well, let us know if you're beginning to feel that improvement, especially in those that have been removed from that list of those who are in distress. 072-110-5584. Drop us an X at Newzroom 405. Focus continues.